If you're thinking about moving to Cincinnati, Ohio, there are a few things you need to know before you make that decision. Whether you're looking at relocating for work, for school, or just a change of pace, Cincinnati has a lot to offer, but it's not without its challenges. In today's video, we'll be diving into the 6 things you absolutely need to know before packing up and moving to Cincinnati. We'll cover everything from the weather to the cost of living and beyond, so you can be fully prepared before making the big move. I'm Nathan Williams, your Cincinnati real estate expert, and if you need any help with your real estate transaction, I'd love to help you out. My contact information is down below. Feel free to reach out with any questions you have about moving to Cincinnati or anything related to Cincinnati real estate. First on our list is Cincinnati's weather. The weather here can be a bit of a mixed bag, and it's something you should definitely consider before moving. In the summer, the temperature often hits the 80s and 90s, and humidity can make it feel even hotter. You'll want to be prepared with air conditioning if you're moving during the warmer months. But what a lot of people don't expect is how quickly the weather can change here. Winters in Cincinnati bring snow and cold temperatures. Sometimes temperatures can dip into the low teens. So if you're used to mild winters, you'll need to adjust to the colder months, including snow removal and heating costs. In short, the weather here can be unpredictable, so be ready for the drastic changes throughout the year. Next, let's talk about traffic and commute times. Traffic in Cincinnati can be a little challenging during peak rush hour times. If you're planning on commuting in or around the city, this is something you want to prepare for. While Cincinnati isn't nearly as bad as major cities like New York or Chicago, the highways I-75, I-71, and I-275 can get congested, particularly during the mornings and evenings. Be prepared for traffic jams while driving into downtown, especially if you're commuting from the suburbs. On the bright side, Cincinnati has good alternatives like the Cincinnati Metro bus system, which serves the city and its suburbs, and the Cincinnati streetcar that connects several hotspots throughout downtown. But it's important to know that the bus system isn't as extensive as in larger cities. So if you're living outside of the downtown area, you may find it harder to rely on public transportation. Now let's talk about the cost of living here in Cincinnati. Compared to large cities, the cost of living in Cincinnati is pretty affordable, but there are still some things to consider. The median home price here is around $250,000, which is much lower than cities like Chicago or New York. This makes buying a home much more affordable for many people, especially if you're moving from a more expensive area. However, if you're planning on renting, expect prices for apartments to be affordable, but very dependent on location. A 1-bedroom apartment in Cincinnati will typically cost around $1,100 per month. One thing to keep in mind, property taxes in Cincinnati can be a bit higher than in some other states, sitting around 2 to 3% of your property's value annually. This can be a bit of a surprise if you're coming from a state with much lower property tax. Cincinnati's public transportation system isn't as robust as bigger cities like New York or Chicago. If you're moving from one of these cities, you may need to adjust your expectations. The Cincinnati Metro bus system does a good job covering the city and some of its surrounding suburbs, but it's not as frequent or expansive as larger cities. If you plan to live in the suburbs or need to travel long distances daily, you'll likely need to own a car. On the other hand, downtown living is relatively walkable, and the Cincinnati streetcar connects several popular spots, but it's not as comprehensive as a full metro system. So, public transportation is available, but it's not the most convenient for everyone. Next, let's talk about Cincinnati's nightlife. If you're moving here from a major city with a vibrant nightlife, you might find Cincinnati seems a bit more laid back. Cincinnati has some great bars, breweries, and live music venues in areas like over the Rhine and the Banks. But when it comes to late night clubs or a fast-paced party scene, it's a bit quieter compared to places like Chicago or New York. So if you're someone who thrives in a bustling nightlife atmosphere, Cincinnati might not be the best fit for you. But if you prefer a more relaxed social scene with a mix of bars, restaurants, and occasional live shows, you'll likely love it here. One thing to keep in mind when moving to Cincinnati is the lifestyle difference between living in the city versus the suburbs. The downtown area offers convenience with easy access to restaurants, shopping, and work. However, living in the city can also mean higher costs of rent and smaller living spaces. If you're looking for more space and a quieter lifestyle, the suburbs might be more of your speed. Areas like Anderson Township and Delhi offer more affordable housing, bigger homes, and quieter neighborhoods, but they come with longer commutes into the city. So it all depends on what's more important to you, living close to the action or having a larger home in a more peaceful environment. All right, that's everything you need to know before moving to Cincinnati, Ohio. As you can see, there are many benefits to living here, but also some things to consider before making the move. If you're thinking about relocating, buying a home, or just have questions about the real estate market here in Cincinnati, feel free to reach out to me. I'm always happy to help. My contact info is in the description below. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and leave a comment with any questions you have about living in Cincinnati. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.